Hey Canucks fans, welcome to the line change. And we're going to be having a special guest joining us in just a second, but I want to quickly give a shout out to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that fine artwork you see behind me. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. But without any further ado, let's bring him on, Mr. David Quadrelli. How you doing, man?
Good. How about you? Thanks for having me back.
Not bad. Actually, now that you said that, not only were you the first guest on our podcast, you are now the first two-time guest. So normally if I had a producer, I'd say clip it, but I guess I'm my own producer, so I'll for sure clip that. So yeah, there's your distinction. First ever two-time guest. And yeah, it's great to see you. A newly married man. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Let's start off with, how did your summer go?
Good. Yeah, really good. It was good to take some time off, and the players back at UBC now, so right back to it. But yeah, it was good. It was a good chance to recharge.
All right, let's dive into some Canucks. Been about a few months since I last chatted with you. A lot's happened since then. The Canucks acquired Evander Kane. Brock Besser re-signed, Demko, Garland. Let's start off with Kane. And what was your initial reaction to the Evander Kane trade?
Yeah, it was an interesting one because I think at the time that it happened, everyone thought the Canucks were going to go one way. And then I think after July, well, really in the lead up to July 1st, when it seemed that the NHL, the rest of the teams all shifted to just kind of keeping their own guys, it seemed like the Canucks kind of had to pivot at that point. So the question that I was asking about Evander Kane, I really like the Kane acquisition. Again, just a fifth-round pick. The thing that I kept coming back to is, okay, if the Canucks knew that it was going to go the way that it did, where they would retain Brock Besser, they would sign Connor Garland to an extension, they would sign Demko, and they wouldn't go out and get many new guys, would they have just signed Pius Suter to the contract that he was looking for? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's an interesting one based on timelines to kind of explore a little bit. But yeah, I like the Kane acquisition. I think he's going to be a pretty good impact player for this team. I think he's going to play in the top six. I think he has potential to play on the first line with Petey and do well on that first line with Elias Pettersson. So I like the acquisition. I'm excited to see what Kane's able to do in a Canucks uniform.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I'm intrigued to see how he does. I always loved him when he played for the Giants. So there's that aspect. And I just think he's going to have a lot of, oomph to want to, showcase himself, especially in front of his hometown. And I know he's said that too. You mentioned Besser. What was your initial reaction to him re-signing? Obviously, that was a huge topic going into the offseason, whether or not will he re-sign. It looked like he had one foot out the door. And then lo and behold, bang, he resigns. What was your initial reaction to that?
Love it. Think it's a great contract for the Canucks. Don't think Besser's going to age very poorly. For the person, I'm really happy. Again, you hear him talk about how he's going to hope to buy a house in Vancouver. You want more players like that put down roots, right? Like even just looking at the 2011 team, which players put down roots here from that team, right? It was the Sedins, obviously. Yannick Hansen bought a place in West Van, but beyond that, there's not a ton of guys who've put down roots in Vancouver. So for Brock, again, his girlfriend's from here. It's really awesome just to see a guy that's able, again, drafted by the team, would have won the Calder if he didn't get hurt in his rookie year. A really good person off the ice, a really good player on the ice for this team through some really dark years as well. Really happy for a guy like that to be able to put down roots in Vancouver. So yeah, again, I think it's a fine contract for the team. I'm really happy for Brock the person. I think he's certainly deserving of that contract.
For sure, absolutely. I actually, that day was a pretty big day for me. I did my first July 1st, and actually earlier that morning, I had put out a little video, basically saying my goodbyes to Brock. And then a few hours later, he resigns. I'm like, made me look like a bit of an idiot.
Everybody thought Brock was gone. Brock thought he was gone, right? Listen to him talk about the situation. He thought he was gone too.
Mm-hmm. We mentioned Demko Garland extensions. Just quickly, your reactions to those as well.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised, less surprised than most people, I think, that a Demko extension got done. I didn't think the Canucks would want to go to the number. Before the offseason, I had a pretty good idea of what Demko was going to be looking for. I didn't know the Canucks would go there. I thought Demko's ask was going to be just too high for the Canucks, but they get it done. I think it is a touch high for the Canucks, but also if he ends up being a Vezina candidate again, like you're looking at paying a guy $10-11 million at that point. So if they have him for 3 years at just over 8, I think you're fine with that. So again, I think right now it's maybe a little bit too high, but it has potential to be a bargain contract. I just don't think it's that right now. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, to see that the Demko one got done. And then as for Garland, keeps him in Vancouver. And again, I kind of broke this down at the time they all happened, and mostly Garland and Brock, just with the cap going up, like those aren't increases. Those aren't pay raises. Those are just stay at the same level they were being paid at before, basically, and marginal increase type thing. With the cap going up, those take up about the same percentage that their old cap hits took up on the salary cap for the Canucks. So I like the Garland extension. Again, the Demko one, I really like Thatcher as a goalie. I think he's a really good goaltender. So yeah, I think it's a fine contract. I just right now I don't think it's a bargain by any means. And at first I was a little shocked that it got done.
Yeah, for sure. I was a little surprised at not necessarily the years, but excuse me, sorry, but the cap hit. I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
Moving on to the offseason a little bit. Obviously, I would most certainly say the offseason's over. I think you mentioned that on Canucks Convo the other day. It's technically a new season now. And the Canucks were not able to acquire a 2C during the offseason. Excuse me, sorry. Obviously, we go back to the end of season presser, Jim Rutherford going out and saying, it's going to be expensive to get one, but it's also going to be expensive not to get one. And I believe they've mentioned this on Sekeres and Price. Matt said it a few times. We're in that, territory where it's also not expensive not to get one. Obviously, what was your thoughts on, are you disappointed by them not acquiring one, or do you think there's another, story to it? Perhaps they tried, they just, threw all their chips in one basket and weren't able to get a deal done.
Well, they tried to move the 15th pick, right? Like the one that they used to draft Braden Coots. They were trying to move that pick, and they wanted a 2C. But I think, like we talked about earlier, the landscape just shifted so much, I think, for the Canucks that they just said, you know what? No, we have to go into it with this team. And this is the thing that I've been wrapping my head around, is that I'm not in a vacuum. Sure, I'm disappointed, but at the end of the day, like if this team has Quinn Hughes and others, right? Quinn Hughes, this is like probably a 90-point team. That's what they were last year, right? This is a 90-point team with Quinn Hughes. That means they're going to be in the fight. They're going to be in the conversation. They should be around December, January. Can you go get an impact forward by that time to put your team over the hump and really give them that boost, that 2C that this team could use? I think that's kind of the way you have to approach the season, is visit in season and see what you can do when it comes to going out and acquiring that guy. So yeah, I mean, disappointed, sure, but also I think they have enough right now. I think the team is strong enough right now to compete long enough to buy them that time to go get that guy in season.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, I see what they're doing. They want to see what they have with Hedl. Hopefully he can stay healthy. From the looks of things, he is healthy going into the season, which is obviously a plus. And I absolutely loved that interview that he did on 100% Canucks. It was great insight to, what he's gone throughout his career with the whole concussions. And then even hearing that his brother is a strength coach and that's what they've really been focusing on is obviously great news to hear. But obviously we'll see at training camp how he does. Speaking of that, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about Petey. Obviously, that was a huge focus during the offseason. Will he bounce back? Will he not? Obviously, recently we heard, he's healthy, just like Filip Chytil. He's in shape, it appears, at least according to Evander Kane. said he's, he looks a little different. He's put on some muscle. We even heard from his skills coach saying, he's the best he's looked in a while. Your thoughts on Petey looking a little bit more bulky, and thoughts on him bouncing back?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hear management have to talk about preparation for PD ever again. I think it was sad. It was kind of sad that we were having this conversation about the team's highest paid player in franchise history. We should also mention. I've been a PD believer for a while now, and I thought he was going to bounce back last year. I'm not going to throw out any predictions of, he's going to bounce back for sure this year. But the simple fact of the matter is, for this team to be above just a 90-point team, they need PD to be the old PD, right? And again, you don't need to put up 100-plus points, but can you put up 80? Can you put up 90? That's the range the Canucks need PD to be in, and he does look good. Like, he does look like he's put in the work this offseason, and I think at the end of the day, the thing that I kept coming back to is that they weren't happy with PD's knee tendonitis excuse. They weren't happy with that, but at the end of the day, if he says that it limited his offseason training, he was the one doing the offseason training. So it's great that management doesn't buy it or whatever they wanted to say. At the end of the day, like, PD's the one doing the offseason training. And if he's the one doing the training and he said that it was limiting his ability to prepare properly, and now that he says that that's behind him, theoretically he should have had a good offseason to prepare. And that's all we've heard. So when that happens, typically he plays well. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up being the case. But he says he's healthy. He looks like he's had a good offseason. And hopefully that translates to some on-ice success.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of training camp, I know you'll be there in Penticton. What are you looking forward to seeing at training camp this year?
Well, we'll go right back to the PD conversation, right? In Whistler a couple of years ago, right before he had that monster season, he looked a step above everybody at training camp. First in the, not the bag skate, the skating test. He was first by a mile. He was just controlling play. He was controlling the puck. It was unbelievable to watch him play. And you could just tell, like, some guys, again, it's a training camp. You don't read too much into it. Guys like Petey, and you saw it in Whistler, when he was a step above everybody else, he was a step above everybody else once the season started as well. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. It was what I was looking for last year. Didn't really see it. But yeah, I'm interested to see that. Beyond that, I'm interested to see how they kind of roll forward lines. I do want them to work special teams. It was really weird. Last year, Rick Tocchet said, we're going to work on special teams really early. And then they didn't work on it until the final day. And when they did, it wasn't even like the actual PP1 groups. It was like the playing groups that were split up. So I found that to be really weird. And I'd like them to work on special teams early. So I'll be watching for those things.
Mm-hmm, for sure. What are your expectations for the season?
I mean, I expect them to be a good team. I expect them to make the playoffs. I think, honestly, I think people are a little too low on this team right now. Like, this was a team where everything went wrong last year. They were a 90-point team. Like, they were close to the playoffs. They were close. They weren't there. Don't get me wrong. But I think this team is going to be closer to what they were in 23-24 than what they were in 24-25. That's my simple take, is I think they're going to be better. I don't think they're going to win the Pacific. Could they finish second? Could they finish third? Yeah, they could. Could they finish in a wildcard spot? Yeah, they absolutely could. But I don't buy this idea that if everything breaks right, they're a wildcard 2 team. I think they have what it takes to get to at least third in the Pacific. And you look at the setback that LA took, right? Like, you look at the rest of the division, it's right there for them. It's right there for the Canucks to go out and take a spot. So, I think this is a playoff team heading into the year. And maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but I do think this is a playoff team heading into this season.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I'm very optimistic myself. I'm, trying not to be negative at all. Got to go in with a open mind. But on that note, obviously they still don't have their 2C, but they do with Hedl for now. But if things go sideways to start the season, there's been talks about, them maybe making a trade in November or even mid-season. I believe it was Stéphane Roger mentioned a prediction that they might make a trade in late January, which is something they've done before. So perhaps fourth time's the charm. Thoughts on that? Them possibly making a big trade mid-season or around January to address that 2C finally.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way that you have to go about it at this juncture, right? Like, they didn't get the center they wanted in the offseason, but like I've been saying, I think they have a good enough team to compete at the start. It's not like this hole at center is going to just cost them games left, right, and center. And maybe it will, and then they have to go out and address it. But I think when you consider how much the landscape changed for them this offseason, I think the approach is a fine one. I know Jack Roslovic's still out there. I've talked about him a lot. Apparently they're not as interested in him anymore, but I wouldn't hate to see them go sign Roslovic for the right price, but I also think the approach they're taking is a fine move as well. Like, if you want to be a little more patient, I think you have the team right now to win some games and at least keep you in that conversation, so that it makes sense to go out and get a guy in season.
Especially with the new CBA stuff, is probably throwing a bit of a wrench in their plans too. So they're probably being patient on that, which is smart. Obviously, this new CBA stuff is brand new for everybody, and I guess it kind of handicaps them a little bit when it comes to a big in-season trade as well. But shifting away from Canucks, because I would be remiss if we didn't talk at least a little bit of baseball. So obviously the last time we talked was May, about a month into the baseball season. We're in September now, September baseball. I haven't actually looked to see where the Mariners are in the standings. I think they were second last I looked.
It's not going well. The Mariners are playing not very well lately. It's been disappointing, but they had a really, really fun month of July, and like early August was a lot of fun. They are not doing too hot since then. They're 3.5 back of Houston. They're holding down a wild card spot with Texas and KC behind them. Not to mention the Rays, who the Mariners just dropped a series to. So, yeah, they actually got swept by the Rays, I should have said. So, yeah, not great.
Well, I know the Blue Jays are going to be facing the Rays soon, and they've been shellacked by them like almost all season. But at least the Mariners do have one good thing about them, and that's Big Dumper. Cal Raleigh is in the MVP race with Aaron Judge, which blows my mind to even say. Not that Cal Raleigh's a bad player or anything. He absolutely would torch the Jays whenever they played Seattle. And I do have Raleigh in my fantasy league, so I'm obviously big on that. But yeah, him hitting 50 home runs is incredible, especially for a catcher. It's never been done before. Your thoughts on Cal Raleigh and just the season he's had?
Oh yeah, like I was expecting him to have a good year. I was not expecting him to have an MVP caliber year, but that's the thing that's so cool about Cal is, yeah, he's hitting the homers, but he's also like a platinum glove backstop. So it's been really cool to watch him this season. You're right. It has been a bright spot in a dark season so far.
I know you're more into the Mariners than the Blue Jays, but obviously the Blue Jays have been, at the top of their division for at least a couple months now, at least for most of the summer. Obviously, they're hanging on by a thread with the Yankees and the Red Sox right on their butts. And, obviously the bullpen woes have been pretty bad lately. I've actually been watching quite a bit of baseball recently. Actually, I think I watched my first full Jays game, 1-9 in late August, which is crazy to say. I just haven't had the time to watch any of them, but I managed to finally watch one. I think it was from the bottom of the first, so I missed the top of the first, but I started watching at the bottom of the first, and I think Max Scherzer was pitching. So it was cool to see him pitch. I forget who they were playing. It may have been, I think it was 2 starts ago. It was Scherzer, but it's been something my dad and I have been doing actually a lot lately. He's had it on. I've come downstairs and been watching it with him, and he's really into it, But yeah, no, it's just great to see them playing well. And, it kind of gives me 2015 vibes a little bit, with them being first in the division. What are your thoughts on how they've played the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always worried about that bullpen. I was worried about it before, and now they're really starting to struggle. So I'm hoping they can figure that out. I know that even the closer role is a little bit shaky right now for them. So I'm hopeful that they can figure it out. But They've been a fun team to watch. Like you just said Scherzer as well. Like Scherzer's always been one of my favorite pitchers to watch compete. So the fact he's on the Jays is really cool. And yeah, it's been a fun season so far, and it was nice to see them kind of get out of that, just fringe wild card spot. Like they're now a team that's competing for the division, and that's really cool to see.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they picked up Shane Bieber at the deadline, which is crazy. I never thought he'd be a Blue Jay. Obviously, there's the comparisons with him and Justin Bieber. I think I watched 6 inning stretch the other day with him on, and he absolutely hates the comparison between him and Justin, which is hilarious considering he plays for the Jays now. What was your thoughts on them going out and getting him?
Yeah, I mean, again, a guy that hadn't pitched in a long time, you were basically taking a wild card on him, and it was like buying a lottery ticket. And so far, it's really paid off for them, which is really cool. I really hope Bieber can keep it up because, yeah, like people forget how dominant he was, especially that year. Obviously, the year he won the Cy Young, he was really dominant, but that wasn't that long ago. And when he's been able to pitch, and it hasn't been in a while, he's been really good. So I like the pickup. I thought it was one, like I said, it's like buying a lottery ticket, and so far it seems to be working out for them.
Your thoughts on them maybe extending him at the end of the season or in the off season?
Oh yeah, I mean I love that idea, especially if he keeps it up. Like you need good rotation guys. Again, I don't think he'd command too much on the open market. So yeah, I think that might be a really, really sharp signing, just like it was a sharp trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked a little bit about Cal Raleigh and how great of a season he's had, but what about George Springer? Like, talk about a career renaissance. Like, he's hitting Springer dingers left, right, and center, sometimes multiple a game. And it's just crazy to see him having such a great season at his age. Your thoughts on how Springer's been playing this year and whatnot?
Yeah, he turned back the clock, right? Like I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting that kind of output from Springer. So yeah, I mean it was great. It's another great storyline for this Jays team. Him turning back clock just wasn't something I was expecting. So yeah, no, really, really good season for him, and obviously happy to see it.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Uh, let's get back into some Canuck stuff. Is there a particular game you're looking forward to this season, like on the schedule or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously JT coming back, right? Like that's going to be a big one. It's going to be those chants. There's going to be, his first media avail since being traded from the Canucks with the Vancouver media. So he'll get to reflect a little bit on that, and it'll be cool to see JT back at Rogers Arena. That being said, yeah, I mean, the home opener is always one that I really look forward to. So yeah, other than the JT game, probably the home opener.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll actually be going to the JT game. I'm pretty excited for that, and best believe I'll be at least maybe trying to start those chants. If someone beats me to it, I'll just hop in, join along. I'm also very much looking forward to seeing like what he has to say. Obviously, we haven't really heard anything from him since he was traded. He just wouldn't comment on it, which is fair. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see him address the Vancouver media. Talk about. Hopefully it'll go smoothly, and he'll just like you said, reflect on his time in Vancouver. I'm actually thinking about maybe getting a jersey custom made with "Thank you JT" on the back. Maybe seeing if I can maybe try and gift it to him or something. Just little memento. Show him that Canucks fans still appreciate him, despite him being traded, and the 50-50 reaction to JT being a quote unquote cancer and all that. But yeah, that's definitely a game I'm looking forward to. Also, I guess next time Bedard's in town, obviously that's probably going to be a big one. Obviously, the games against the Leafs are always sellouts or big games. Yeah, let's see if I have anything else. No, I don't. But Sue, you're a married man now, so how was the wedding?
Great, yeah, really good. It was an outdoor wedding, and we lucked out with weather, lucked out with no wildfire smoke. Everything went really, really well. Couldn't have asked for a better wedding.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy for you. Being married myself, nothing beats your wedding day. I've been married for 8 years, and that's still to this day one of the best days of my life. You'll never forget your wedding day. Seeing family, a whole bunch of people, and then the ceremony, the reception, whatnot. It's just a great experience. So if those of you who haven't gotten married yet, you guys are missing out quite a bit. It's quite an experience, and it's something that'll live with you for the rest of your life. And try not to party too hard, and hopefully try and remember those moments as well. Mine's a little shaky, but marriage is definitely a blessing and awesome, and my wife is amazing. And yeah, like I said, I'm just really happy for you. And yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about? We have a few more minutes.
No, man, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate the kind words. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back on at some point down the line.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely have you on. I guess one thing I'm looking forward to is the watch parties coming up this year. I'll be on the lookout for those. Definitely, hopefully, Elfrin will be able to join us. I've actually met up with Elfrin a couple times since then. Him and I are both part of, Canuck Clay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually very good friends. We met up at his little meetup, so I got to see Elfrin and whatnot. So looking forward to the next watch party. Definitely be on the lookout for the first one, and I'm obviously going to try and go to as many of them as I can. And yeah, so thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. First ever 2-time guest on the podcast. Tomorrow I actually have Vic Nazar coming on. And yeah, since you came on, I've had a slew of guests come on. I managed to get J-Pat to come on, Dave Hall, Rob Williams as well, Brandon Astol. So yeah, I'm just going to keep trucking, and looking forward to more Canucks Conversation, this upcoming season. And once again, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, man. And looking forward to seeing you at the watch parties.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks. All right, well, there you go. That was David Quadrelli, good friend of the podcast, good friend of the show. Great to have him on for the second time. First, as I mentioned, first ever 2-time guest. He was the first guest on the podcast. Now he's the first 2-time guest on the podcast. So looking forward to having him on again. Hope you guys enjoyed our conversation. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all your Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media, as you can see there, Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. You can also, if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Feel free to give us a follow on Spotify, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. But that's going to do it for this episode. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.